failing lawn with fungal issues in the middle of the summer to a thriving lawn in early, mid-spring. We're going to show you how we approach it. About 6 weeks ago, we were at this garden to film a failing lawn. It had some fungal issues, it had some shade issues, it had some lack of water issues. We've had some dramatic improvement, but it's not as good as we like it. The overseeding is going to make it look good immediately as soon as it sprouts. And then we coast through the easy part of this. November, December, January. You almost don't need to do anything. You don't need to water. You don't need to worry about disease usually. And then as we go into February and March, we're going to kick back in with some treatment to continue the recovery. I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's Corporation. I'm a landscape architect and a landscape contractor for about 45 years now. And this is my vice president, Chip Valentino, in charge of fungal disease. So this part of the lawn, which gets plenty of sun, we have this western exposure, had a lot of these little small areas that were starting to turn brown. You can see lawn growing in there and starting to fill in. So we're making progress. They're almost all filled in. It's looking much, much better. The biggest issue here was a fungal disease problem. We started combating that with beneficial life. We did that in the form of our products, Blend and Penetrate Liquid Biotiller, trying to build life in the soil, beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi. Beneficial fungi is way stronger than the bad fungus that was making this thing look lousy. So that's a sustainable way to treat your lawn so you don't have these problems over and over again. It might be more expensive than spraying a chemical fungicide, but it's a permanent solution. With a chemical fungicide, what happens is you kill off the bad fungus and the good fungi. That good fungi represents your only hope to make sure you don't have this problem every year. So what we're trying to do is come up with a sustainable, permanent solution, and we're showing you that in process here. You can see in the areas that were completely bare, we're making some progress, and we've got a little bit of growth in these areas, so it looks a little bit better. As we get more warm weather next year, we'll be able to completely cover this up. For now, Enrique's going to overseed this. That'll come up with perennial rye. It'll look great for the winter months. And then next spring, we'll focus on getting this hybrid Bermuda to take off and fill these areas in. So the shady areas on the north side of all this Photinia and Bradford pears and boxwood is pretty much like last time, and I didn't expect much change. We can't change Bermuda's reaction to shade. We could try to open it up to light, which that effort hasn't been made, and in a fairly small area like this might not be that important to the owner. Probably will improve a little with the overseeding. When the leaves on these trees drop and we get more light in here, that's why the overseed does better than the Bermuda, because we end up with more light on the north side of these trees. Then there was a part on the other side of the driveway that actually was being underwatered briefly. We had brown lawn right up against the pavement because it dried out. That's been corrected. The whole thing is reasonably green now. This whole thing will be overseeded. You can see he's mowed a little bit low here, so it's not tremendously green, but it's healthy, it's growing fine. This side is excellent. Chip likes the new sod. Yeah, go to it. If you want to see how we diagnose this failing lawn, check out our first video at this site. And it's really illustrative of how you go about understanding problems that you might have. Even if your problem isn't exactly the same as this problem, you'll have a process to follow to figure out what the problem is, why your lawn looks terrible, and how to make it look good as quickly as possible. So after about 6 weeks, we've had a modest recovery, maybe a little more than modest recovery. It looks pretty darn good, but we need more heat to get this Bermuda to really start to cover. So here's the strategy. Enrique is going to overseed with perennial rye next week. That's going to come up quickly. That comes up quickly in weather like this, highs in the 70s and 80s, lows in about 50. That'll pretty much jump up out of the ground, and it'll make this lawn look great. The lawn will look great until next spring, when then we need to rely back on the hybrid Bermuda, and we're going to be aggressive about fertilizing it, probably with our Nourish Biosol. Enrique is going to mow once a week and mow relatively low so that weeds can't grow, and really get that hybrid Bermuda lawn to outcompete anything. So with healthy soil, with lawn that's fully fed, our plan is to cover up the rest of these bare areas, which temporarily will be covered up by the overseed. Let us know in the comments if you want to see specifically how we will be overseeding this. We can show you that in detail. So if you have a warm season grass like hybrid Bermuda, zoysia, or St. Augustine, you really want to overseed in order for the lawn to look as green as possible. I think the best grass to overseed with is perennial rye. It's a very nice, lush looking lawn. It comes up fast, it's easy to care for. If you have a cool season grass, you could still overseed with perennial rye, but it might be more appropriate to overseed with whatever type of cool season grass you want to proliferate. So if you want bluegrass, I would consider overseeding with bluegrass. If you want some type of tall fescue, I would consider overseeding with tall fescue. Both of those are slower to germinate than perennial rye, but they get along better. Sometimes perennial rye can compete with other cool season grasses to where you're not allowing your particular cool season grass to flourish. But on almost any warm season grass, I like using perennial rye. We hope you found this very helpful and you've been enlightened on ways of improving your lawn and making it function and look exactly like you want it. Also, if you want to see how overseeding would be carried out and the steps behind it, let us know. I was driving around in my pickup and I looked over and I noticed I had a little bit of dirt on the floorboard in the passenger side and some seed. I was carrying around a bag of perennial rye seed. Some seed had spilled on the floorboard and I noticed that it was starting to germinate. So if I can germinate perennial rye in my pickup, even those of you that tell me that you have a brown thumb, you can germinate perennial rye in your yard. It'll grow in a pickup, it'll grow in a garden. It's a miracle overseed grass, so consider it.